Hey, what's going on, everyone? I'll just wait a little bit for a few people to flow in. And today will be, there'll be a guest, okay? I'm going to be chatting to one of my former clients. Michael, good to see you. I'm actually kind of looking forward to catching up with him because I haven't actually personally seen him in quite a long time. And we coached together, I think, maybe 10 years ago, or maybe even longer. I don't know exactly. It's been a little while, but I'm looking forward to Mark. Good to see you. Good to see everyone that has jumped in, but I'm looking forward to chatting with him because he's a great example of creating lasting change. Obviously we got him super ripped and shredded, like 8, 10 years ago, and I posted the picture in our group. But honestly, actually maintained it for that long, and if anything, has developed a lot more muscle density since then. So he looks a lot fuller and more symmetric and more complete in his physique. And he's a perfect example of making it happen in the real world, which is kind of very rare, especially in academic circles, which they might be able to do kind of like very kind of they sound like very impressive in the coffee shop, like with a lot of theories and stuff of that sort. But when it comes to actually implementing it in real life and being healthy mentally and physically and attaining like a very good looking, aesthetically appealing physique. Ernie, good to see you. Michael, Clemente, Mark as well. Michael, another Michael. It just doesn't happen, their stuff just doesn't work, okay? Or maybe it works like in theory in terms of like in a perfect laboratory setting, but in the real world, the application and the successful application isn't there. And like one of my mentors would say, I don't even know if this is his quote, it's just he kind of says it a few times. Knowledge isn't power, okay, guys? Like applied knowledge is power, okay? So it's actually what you could apply and use in the real world. That's how much benefit you can get out of it. Let me see if Zai has jumped in. That way I can kind of add him to this live. And we can kind of go from there. Sometimes we have trouble with these guys, with these lives, technical issues. I'm going to text message him, okay, guys? Hang in there. And I will be back in, I said, sent him a text. Let me see if he's in here. Oh, he is in here. Okay, cool. Send invite. All right. Hey, Beast,
Hey,
what is up?
long
One of
time no
my
see.
favorite clients of all time. Haven't seen this guy in like freaking ages.
I
So yeah,
know.
I invited him because first and foremost, I just wanted to catch up with him, and see how life is going. And then everyone that's on the live right now is like my former client and good friend, Zai. Just like with all my other clients, I keep freaking forgetting how long ago it's been since we trained. But I think it's at least been like 8 to 10 years. Like at least it's safe to say like that. I'll have to check my folders and stuff of that sort. But do you remember even when we
Oh
uh,
yeah. It was right when I turned 30.
you're like, how
And,
could I forget? It
and
was
I
that
was turning
traumatic of an
I
event.
wanted to look the best I was ever going to look when I turned 30. And so I started training with you right before I turned 30, the month before. And
Yeah.
I am coming up on 40.
Yeah, and somehow I kind of like looking the same, man. Not even a single day of aging. You got like you should really start like an anti-aging movement, like an anti-aging coach, because a lot of the anti-aging gurus out there actually for some reason look 10 years older than they actually are all the time, I'm like,
It's
wait a
true.
minute, like, are you a pro-aging coach or an anti-aging coach?
It's all that coaching they're doing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm like, man, how
I
come you
just
guys
sleep
look
a
so
lot.
old?
I slept the last 10 years. That's what it was.
Hey, I always emphasize good sleep, man, keeps the wrinkles away.
It's true. Lots of water, lots of sleep.
So I
But
was
yeah,
telling,
I'll be 40 in August, so it's
oh
been that
snap.
long. It's been 10 years.
Hey, but you're still, honestly, I was giving people a quick intro before you joined, and I was telling them, hey, we trained, like 8, 10 years ago. And I obviously posted your photo in the group. It was like a great after photo or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But more importantly, like I've been emphasizing a lot of stuff in the group, it's kind of like you've been able to actually sustain the change and actually, if anything, improve over time. Because I feel like your muscle density has improved, you know, in 8 to 10 years because you've been very consistent with it. And not many people can do that. And in fact, like the stats are very depressing overall. Like 80 to 90% of people that finish a fat loss journey or some kind of fitness journey relapse within 2 to 3 years. There are many reasons for that. Relapse and actually even get worse than they were
Hmm.
initially. So my thing is like, dude, if you can't create lasting change or if a program can't embed that lasting change, there's no point of changing. Because
Right.
what's the point if you're going to lose everything and start over, get demoralized, and if anything, be in a worse state than you are before, you know?
Right.
And I think a lot of people, especially the American crowd, which is looking for like quick fixes and to desperately do everything they can without actually having to create real change that's going to create real change. You know, they get on the trendy diets, they get on the boot camps, the CrossFit classes, and all that stuff. And very rarely does that actually create lasting change with people. So I wanted to talk to you because you guys, he doesn't have a PhD in any exercise science or psychology or anything, but guess what? You know, sure, he doesn't have like a myriad of degrees on the back of his name, like his name is in it like a thermostat, you know, but guess what? He's actually able to successfully be mentally and physically healthy. And that's what matters. You know, it's not like knowledge isn't power, like applied knowledge is power. It's what you could actually make work in the real world and make happen. That's where the magic is, you know? So a lot of these guys, they kind of may sound very fancy in the coffee shop, like I mentioned before, but hey, when rubber hits the road, it's like their shit just don't work, you know, and you can see it. They're not able to apply it themselves. They look like very aged, very haggard. They're like, I'm eating this and I'm doing this special workout and I'm doing this special workout, meaning, yeah, meanwhile, they can barely even bench like more than a bar, you know, for example. I'm like, dude, what the hell are you doing, man? You're doing all this fancy shit and my grandma is basically in better shape than you are, you know? So Zai, take over, man. Um, just maybe chat about let's start with like way back when, you know, when we were coaching together, chat about your transformation, your motivation behind that. And then let's just go year by year, how you actually make it happen. Because, hey, you know, I work 2 days a week, but that's not for everyone. Zai is a perfect example that you can stay busy, and he is very busy, and still maintain your physical and mental health without having to abuse a myriad of steroids and other drugs and other medical drugs. Zai is like 100% natural, like lifetime natural, like myself as well. And when we say natural, I mean like literally not even like TRT, no anabolic steroids, no
Yep.
whatever else is on the market and all that stuff. So you can see he's looking great, maybe even better than me. So it shows my coaching
Nah,
is that good, you know?
that's not true. That's not true. Yeah, when I first started training with you, I was just kind of skinny that, or I was okay shape, but I just didn't want to be normal. I wanted to look great. I wanted to feel better. And I was coming up on 30 and it was scaring me. I don't know why it was scaring me, but um, I was busy. I was, opening a new showroom. Was in the middle of a relationship. I had a relationship. I had friends. I had a showroom. I was constantly doing something, and I just didn't really have the knowledge to apply to working out. So I'd go to the gym, but I just throw weight around. I'd do what I saw other people doing. I'd do the same workouts every day, and it just kind of plateaued into nothing. And so I saw one of your videos, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna give this a try. And I was really surprised because I tried a trainer prior to that, and all they did was take me around, at one of the gyms and take me from machine to machine to machine. And I didn't really know what I was supposed to be feeling while I was working out, what I was supposed to be connecting with my muscles while I was working out, what I was supposed to be eating when I was just, you know, going out, how to make proper choices, things of that nature. And so it just wasn't really working. Nothing was working. And so when we started training, I was really surprised that there wasn't a lot of crazy science behind it. It was just do these workouts, eat like this, and that's it. Sleep, don't stress. And psychologically, I just tend not to, try to stress too much and take on too much. But I work 5, 6 days a week. I manage 12 people, and I have a high stress job, and I just make sure that I follow your program that you gave me. And I was able to, do those pictures in 89 days, I think it was.
Yeah, I think it was like a 2.5 to 3 month
Yeah,
transformation with you. I
yeah.
probably should start looking at client folders before I start interview them because you're already like the sixth person, and I'm like, oh, I don't remember what we did, just to kind of get at least a refresher, like what the
I
hell we
remember
doing.
it was really quick. And then, but that was when I leaned out, and then to gain the muscle that I gained, it was another however long. But um, as far as it lasted because you taught me how to use my body, not so much just what to do while you were around. Because when I first started with you, I trained with you once a week.
I don't know. I forgot.
Yeah, it was about once a week, and
Yeah.
outside of that, I was just doing what you taught me. And so it's really about giving me the knowledge for me to apply when I got to the gym and when I got into the kitchen and when I was in the grocery store, just making the right choices and then paying attention to my body while I was, after I ate something, like what did my weight fluctuate like? And without that, I probably wouldn't have been able to sustain it. I would have been reliant on another trainer, to push me. But it's now part of my everyday thinking. How am I going to eat today? I ate bad yesterday, today, tomorrow, the day after. I shouldn't be eating this, that, or the other. You just kind of plan ahead. You're planning to go to a party and that's going to just be shit food. Like, eat clean before that, have that day, and then just go back to it. Like, just pay attention to like how many calories you're eating. I don't think it's like weighing food and being overly, crazy about it. It's just
Mhm.
be aware of what you're doing. I think people just look for a very easy solution to life. They're just, either they're lazy or they want somebody else to think for them. But that just means that you're always going to have somebody else or something else to rely on. And that's, be the pilot. Don't be the passenger in your own body.
Yeah. Which is okay to do if you're okay with paying like $175 an hour plus for a good coach, because that's what a
This,
good
yeah, yeah,
that's what a
yeah.
good
Have
coach
them with
costs.
you. I mean,
So
by all means, you'll take it.
yeah, I'll take it. Hey, if they're okay with paying like $2K a month for good coaching, then hey, whatever, man.
Yeah, for sure. And
Usually,
some people need it.
yeah, usually Zai in the industry, in the healthcare industry in general, we call these clients like the 401k clients. because they refuse to take responsibility themselves and create real change, so they kind of like always are dependent on this daddy figure to hold their hand all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes refer to them as like the BMW fund client, because they fund your BMW payments
Yeah.
because they never leave, they never change, and they're always coming back and stuff of that sort. And yeah, what you described is kind of like important, like being consciously aware of like what works and doesn't work for your body. And I feel like good coaching is will teach you how to do that, because each individual is a little bit different as well. You can't copy and paste advice from person to person. That's kind of why I stuck to like one-on-one coaching still, like this whole entire time, because I really like to get to know like the challenges that specific person has in their lifestyle, their belief system that needs, because inevitably with good with a good healthcare provider, at the end of the day, like literally 99.9% of the time, whatever the person is struggling with, whether it's excessive body fat, anxiety, high blood pressure, not an ideal cholesterol ratios, et cetera, it's like, you got to remember, it's like the person doing it to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They are participating in behaviors that are leading to all those problems. They're doing it to themselves. So if you don't change the belief system that's causing those behaviors, that's causing those symptoms, it's never going to end.
You're perpetuating it.
It's never going to end. No matter how much bullshit symptom management stuff the person's going to try, it's just going to get worse year after year. You might get some short-term relief with all these medications and stuff of that sort. But like I always say, it's kind of like, dude, like a little child, like without an education, understands that if you have like a rock stuck inside your shoe,
You
You
take it
take
out.
you take it out, and then you walk
Yeah.
pain free, but you have like a myriad of quote unquote educated, and I say that very loosely, adults saying like, no, let's leave that rock out, but let's leave that rock inside the
Let's
shoe, but
make
take,
better soles for the shoe.
yeah, or let's take painkillers and continue
Yeah.
to walk with that rock inside my shoe. And then 3 years
Hmm.
later, or a few months later, when your body habituates to that like dosage of painkillers, let's just up the painkillers, you know?
Right, right.
And then get an addiction. And also, like, it's very taxing on the liver and other visceral tissues, just taking that shit daily. Then you develop, instead of one problem, now you have like four problems that need three
Hmm.
different medications that also create two
That
problems
are all
each.
interacting with your life. Yeah.
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 And
Well, you're making room for all that at that point. Like you're making room in your life for all those things to just come apart. And like I particularly don't drink that much. I don't tend to ruin my body that much, but I do have fun. Like I'll have a drink every once in a while, but I'm not like excessive because I know what it does to my body. So,
yeah.
and that helps.
Yeah, and that's a great input, Zai, because not, as you know, like I live more on the extreme side of health, and it's not for everyone. I'm going to admit it, like
Hmm.
working remotely 2 days a week and barely eating out and stuff of that sort, or I don't drink at all, for example. It works for me, but it's not for everyone. So for guys on this
Right.
live, Zai might be a better kind of like role model of how to make it happen if you want more of like balance kind of lifestyle within society. So my next question for you, Zai, is, you do have like a tough job, a tough job. You're managing 12 people, a huge store with a lot of traffic, et cetera, et cetera. Like, how do you not, because I feel a lot of times people don't know how to set those healthy boundaries at work. They let the deadlines take precedence over their own mental and physical health. They always get into this mindset of like, oh, I'll take care of it. I'll put myself as a priority next month. And you know how that works. One
Hmm.
month turns
You
into
never
two
really
months.
choose yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2 months turns into 2 years. 2 years turns into basically now you have this 50-year-old that's uh, woulda, shoulda, coulda, always like,
Yeah.
I'll do it next month. And they're totally full of shit and, they never will. How do you overcome that, in terms of like setting healthy boundaries at work and doing all that stuff?
Oh, I think it. Let me think. The best way that I can describe it is how they tell you to save for retirement. You have to pay yourself first, right? You have to put something away first for yourself, and then you pay your bills and so on and so forth, and you live off of that, live within your means. Well, like I know there's a finite amount of time in a day, and I know that when I get to work, there's going to be a lot of stuff I got to deal with, and I know that maybe at the end of the day, I might be exhausted or bothered, or psychologically there just might be something that just makes me not want to be physical. I just want to go home and sleep. So that's why I wake up early. I actually get up at about 5, and I slowly wake up. I read something, um, have some coffee, and then I go to the gym first thing. I don't work till 9, and I'm up at 5. So that's me choosing myself first in the morning. I go to the gym. I leisurely get there. I do my stretching. I work out at the pace that I feel I need to, and I'm done maybe an hour before I even need to be at work. And it's
Mhm.
that slow start that like allows my mind to kind of wrap my head around my day, and then when I get into work, I'm already alert. I'm ready to go. I do my job, and even if I have a stressful day, I still did what I needed to do for myself, and that has come to work for me. It might not work for everyone, but it worked for me because I did have a problem at one point choosing me over work. I devoted myself to work, and I was always last, and which is why I wasn't at my peak physical fitness through my 20s, because I was trying to prove myself all the time. And um, it's just been very rewarding to make your first choice about yourself in your day, and then exert yourself in every other way after that. But then when I come home, I literally take a bath. Like I take a bath every single night. I wind down, and I'm in bed by about 9 o'clock.
Got it.
I have a full day. I get a lot done. I do a lot for myself, and I end just relaxing myself. And I sleep a full 8 hours straight. And I think it's just a choice. It's a psychological choice to make decisions that set you up for succeeding in whatever you want to do. Like if I wanted to go out and get smashed every night of the week, I'd have to change something else about my life in order to sustain that type of lifestyle. Um, and for me to sustain a calm lifestyle that I'm happy with, that my body can be healthy with, that my mind can be healthy with, it's sleep and eating properly.
Hmm.
Yeah. I want to eat pizza every day, but I don't.
Yeah. Well, where are you working out at these days?
Equinox.
Okay, is that one on Costa
Jamboree.
Mesa? I think we went there once or twice together way back in the day. They have that
Yeah.
gym kind of at the top
Yeah.
of the ceiling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
It
cool,
has a roof gym.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think
Okay.
I think if I remember, one of the big advantages too is you're kind of like very close to the gym as well, right?
It's on my way to work. I
Okay.
So when COVID happened and all the gyms closed, there was a gym that was open in South County, which is in the opposite direction of where I work, and I was open during COVID. So I was going in the opposite direction in the morning just to get to work, and that really derailed me at one point. But I had to try really hard to get there every morning. Like I had to force myself to go,
Hmm.
and I still went. But it is true, setting yourself up to where you know going to the gym is within a direct path of where you're going, or close proximity, it does help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what do you feel? You mentioned like something like very important, and that's kind of remembering to, and a lot of people get this one totally wrong because on the surface it actually sounds wrong. And that's kind of like you hinted at putting yourself first in the sense of being selfish and making sure your needs are met first. And I think actually that's like super important, especially for preventing like burnout and having longevity in like personal relationships or even a career. And that's making sure like your needs are always met first. Because if they're not, I find just it can't last long term without you being miserable. Like one example is like uh, easy one for relationships. Let's say your partner wants to do A, but you want to do B. There's no way that's gonna uh, if there are too many of those in the relationship, there's no way that's going to last long term. And even
Hmm.
if it does, then the only way it's going to last is both of you guys being miserable and hating each other.
Right.
So it kind of like is lasting on paper, but really it's just like a miserable existence. And I always see like, unfortunately, just a lot of people are too like selfless and they think it's like actually like a good thing, like, oh, like, the perfect example is I always see this a lot. It's like a lot of times people are like, oh, like I kill myself at work and I'm very overweight and on this high blood pressure medication. It's anti-anxiety medication. So I can kind of provide for my kids and my family, etc. But like first and foremost is kind of like you're setting a really bad example for your kids because your kids always observe what you do. And by
Hmm.
doing that and by sacrificing, not setting healthy boundaries with your boss or work, et cetera, et cetera, um, you're showing that this is okay to do to your kids. And they're obviously going to do the same exact thing.
Yeah.
And guess what? If you're miserable, your kids are going to see this and see it as okay. And obviously, they're going to be miserable and full of disease, obesity, and whatever during their life as well. So they're learning all those behavior patterns from you. And then on top of that, you kind of grow disgruntled a lot of times to work too if your needs aren't met. Because if you want like a certain type of atmosphere and your work is providing another type of atmosphere, you're going to show up and then eventually, maybe for a year or two, it's going to be okay. But eventually you're going to be like, I just don't like this type of setup. Then you're going to get disgruntled towards your employees. Then there's going to be that tension and friction at work, and that's going to lead to more issues. And I'm sure the majority of people know exactly what I'm talking about. I don't need to elaborate more. But that's why it's always important to have your needs met first. And if they're not, dude, you got to find something else. You got to either go create your own thing and just work for yourself if you're super picky, like myself, for example, or you just you have to go find something that's more in alignment with your core values. And that's
Hmm.
presuming also the person has a clear definition of what those core values are, which pretty much almost nobody does, from my experience. So that's good that you mentioned that, and I feel like that is like a super important thing to master. And in fact, it sets the foundation. It's far more important than any workout program or nutrition program you're ever going to do, because if you mess that one up, you're just going to be on damage control pretty
Yep.
much your whole entire life. And it's going to be a very painful existence for the person, like very, very painful, whether they want to admit it or not. I don't know if you have any other input on that.
No, I
So,
mean it's exactly that. You're driving it till the wheels fall off. You're like not maintaining the vehicle that you're kind of riding through life in. You have to make sure that you are physically and mentally sound before you make any decisions, and that's kind of what I do in the morning. And I suggest it, but it might not work for everyone. But the first thing that you do need to do is choose you. Like that's not selfish, and it if it is selfish, is it smart? Because without you choosing yourself, you can't really be of use to anyone. So
yeah. And like the incident of burnout is like way higher.
because
And obviously,
nothing's feeding you. You're
exactly.
just output, 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 output. Nothing's coming in. And so the moment you notice that nothing's coming in, then some people get resentful. They suddenly start hating what they're doing because they were doing it thinking they're going to get something out of it. Well, all the while, they could have just been living a life where they were constantly getting something out of life because they were giving it to themselves. And that's something that everyone should do. It's not selfish.
Yeah. Well, how do you uh, how about like when you're at work, like are there any kind of mental tricks, with managing like 12 people, et cetera, that you do to kind of make sure, because actually like one strong point I've noticed with you over the years is I never really see you stressing out at all, and I think that's like a um, huge positive and a rare character trait as well. Are there any kind of like secrets you feel worked for you over the years?
Well, I stress, like, I guess I don't spiral. I direct my stress in the direction that it's required to be directed in. So if I'm stressed about work, then I'm fully at work when I'm at work, and I put the pressure where it's needed. I don't, internalize my stress from work and then come home and take it out on my friends and family. I don't, take it out on myself. If I'm at work and something's wrong at work, I put the pressure on at work, and when I leave there, I come home, I take my bath, and I, leave work at work. So you
Hmm.
would never see me stressing about it because it's not currently present and necessary for me to be stressing about. So, but when I am stressed at work, reading psychology books about acceptance and you know warfare, psychological warfare, things of that nature, that's helped me because I don't internalize and beat myself up over things that stress me out. I verbalize them and I communicate them and I work them out as you should. So I think with with everything, stated stress is good. Like you stress, you process it, you deal with it, and you get it out of yourself. As long as you communicate it healthily, or even communicate it at all, you tend to get rid of it. But I think a lot of people hold stuff in.
Hmm.
That's probably why you don't see me super stressed all the time. Because if I have something to say about something, I say it, and everybody who knows me knows that about me. Um, it sounds kind of scary, but if you have, I don't like to carry things with me. If that makes any sense.
Well, do you have, from what I remember correctly, I think you have like the majority of your friends are very health conscious as well, right? Or am I wrong?
Not all of them, no. Like a lot of my friends are actually really fit. Like a lot of us are fit. Some of us eat whatever we want and just like I don't know how they don't gain weight. They're young, they're much younger. But yeah, most of my friends are pretty fit, and we all lead pretty healthy lifestyles for the most part. And I mean, we're all busy professionally, and like I'm the least social out of all of my friends, and they pretty much look like me. And I have one friend who is pretty much just as fit as I am. He's my age. He's just as busy as I am, and he works out every day. He wakes up early just like I do. He has a very similar lifestyle to me, and he looks great. And You know, he looks way younger than he is, and he just so happens to use the same types of lifestyle tactics that I use.
You mean like putting yourself first?
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
that
I
is
mean,
the secret.
it's
Setting
really
healthy
not like
boundaries
a
and putting
foreign
yourself.
concept. I don't know
I'm
why
like,
that's
man, I
like.
wish I can make it sound like more elaborate and fancy so I can sound smarter, but it's really
It's so
like that's
simple.
the foundation, man. Just
I don't
like
know how to. Yeah, I don't know how else
don't
to put it.
don't
It's
live
just
like a dumbass and then bam,
right,
things just
right.
happen. You know?
Like don't flap about aimless and absent purpose. Like make a decision to be, you know, who you want to be, and make sure that your choices point you in that direction, and you can't really go wrong. So, I mean, as far as being fit and like creating, you know, the aesthetic that you want to create, like that has to do with being properly trained by someone, which is,
Mhm.
thank God, you know, I don't even remember how I found you. I think it was through a friend. He was like, "Hey, look at this workout video," and I was like, "I need that guy to train me because I want to look like that." And
Mhm.
then I did, and then I did.
Yeah.
So thanks for that.
I I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember. I'm trying to think back of like who referred you.
John,
Oh, John, that's right.
yeah,
How's he doing? Have you heard from him? I haven't heard from him in freaking
he's doing good. He's doing good.
a long time. So,
He's tatted all over.
okay, cool. I
Yeah,
gotta, I gotta, I gotta catch up with that guy. I haven't messaged him in a long time. Um,
he's doing really well.
well, how are you? How much in terms of like you mentioned like socializing and everything? How do you go about doing that and mitigating that? You know, with typically when people go out and they drink and stuff of that sort, like how do you go about managing that aspect?
I live a pretty like from outside looking in, I live a pretty normal life. Most people wouldn't be able to differentiate how I live from every other person. I go out when I want to go out. You know, every once in a while, like on the weekends, I might go out once a weekend, you know, and maybe go out dancing, go to a bar, go to a restaurant with friends, kind of have a drink or two.
No more
And every
EDC
once in a
days.
while, I'll have like 8 drinks sometimes.
I'm guessing that was EDC weekend. No,
I didn't go to that. I didn't
no,
go to
you're like those are in the past now. You know.
that. I don't think I've ever gone to that. But I mean, if you were just looking at my life and you didn't know me, you would think that I just do everything that everybody else does. The difference is, if I do have a drink, I tend to like ask for a skinny margarita, or I'll have a shot. I won't like have a bunch of mixed drinks with a bunch of sugar in them. Like nobody would really know it unless they paid attention to the minutia of my choices. And I
Hmm.
make wise choices just because I know how sedentary I was that day, and so on and so forth. Or like for the past week, or if I haven't been sleeping well, I won't go out that night. You know, it's just it's very elementary concepts. It's nothing crazy. So, but I do go out. I go to the beach on the weekends. I sometimes go to bars and clubs and go dancing all night till 2 in the morning. And I just make sure that the next day I recover properly. And
Yeah.
like I said, I'm almost 40, like 40 in 2 months, and like I don't. Hopefully, I don't look 40. This camera might be making me look old.
Well, what's your take on? I run into, like I mentioned kind of in the beginning of the video, I run into like a lot of, 40, 50, 60, sometimes even 70-year-olds. I had 70-year-old people say, like, oh, I'm going to make me a priority next month when my schedule clears up a little. I'm like, dude, you are fucking 70, man.
Yeah,
Like, either
just give
make it
up.
happen now or just like shut the fuck up. Like,
Yeah,
literally, dude. Like, what are you even thinking? And it's like even sad to see like a lot of like 40 and 50-year-old males like, oh, like when these seven planets align and the waves are at perfect like speed and this happens and that happens, then I'm
mm.
going to make me a priority and everything's going to fall into place once I start doing keto, you know?
Oh
And I'm
yeah, no,
like,
no.
dude, I'm
No.
like, come on, man. Like, Jesus Christ, I feel sorry for you.
I don't even know what to say about that. Like procrastinating, I think people say things and they get like a sense of accomplishment out of talking about things.
Mm-hmm.
They tell you all their plans and they keep telling you all their plans, but they're not really doing anything with their plans. because it's like the acknowledgement of their plans is almost as if they've already done it.
Hmm.
So they just keep, every time they feel like they need to like get a sense of accomplishment, they might say something instead of just go do it. Like, just do it. Like, you're never gonna really see any type of progress unless you just start like today. You don't have to, like, you can't change your destination today. So they say you can't change the destination today or where you're gonna be today, but you can change the direction. Like, you have to make the choice today. Like, wake up early today. You might not get to the gym, just wake up early and wake up early tomorrow. And until you can, start making those daily decisions grow, just don't just feel like, oh yeah, tomorrow I'm gonna wake up early, I'm gonna go to the gym, I'm gonna eat this all day long, I'm gonna meal plan tonight, and then, no, you can't change your entire habit, like, all your habits overnight. Like, it just doesn't happen. But you psychologically need to make the right decisions and like plan and have the right expectation too. Like, you're gonna fall. You're gonna falter. You're gonna you're gonna eat bad one day. You're gonna be lazy. Like, people, I think they, like, some people will get lazy, they'll eat Taco Bell one night and then they'll be like, oh, I ruined my diet, screw it, and then they just go off and start just going downhill. It's like, no, you fell off the wagon, now get back on and like make a better choice tomorrow.
Hi everyone, thanks for tuning into the podcast. I'm curious, have you ever been confused by the labels in the grocery store? In Yevgeny's book, he demystifies the difference between caged, cage-free, free-range, and pasture-raised meats. He also covers how to avoid GMOs, source high-quality water, fish, supplements, and other related topics. It's a beautifully illustrated, non-technical read that comes with a comprehensive video series and other extended learning materials. Jump on Amazon and check out the book titled Anti-Factory Farm Shopping Guide by Eugene Trufkin. Now let's dive back into the podcast.
Yeah, I feel like one of the things that also leads to that type of behavior too is these, a lot of people, no absolutes, right? There are different reasons for different stories, but a lot of the people, I find when you talk to them extensively, they actually gave it a decent effort in the past. But the problem is like they're under like shitty programming or like shitty coaching, and just the results weren't there for the amount of effort and money they're putting in. So, and if that happens for long enough, the person always gets discouraged, because I would too, if I'm trying all this stuff or if I'm paying for all this stuff and my results are either zero results or just the results are like so kind of mediocre, it's almost not like worth it, I'd get discouraged and quit too. So like my thing is like, dude, these people like literally have two options to succeed. And these are just the two options. You could do, you could become your own mechanic. That is an option. But just know with that option, you better be investing, you better be at least reading 2 to 3 books a month on the given topic you're trying to improve in. And most often you still have to reach out for really good experienced coaching, because nothing's really going to trump or surpass experience and a person that has successfully done it with themselves and with a myriad of other people with a myriad of challenges on a consistent basis, because you just can't find the answers to a lot of things through books. The only way to find those answers, to be able to connect the dots, is through experience. So you got to read, start with 2 to 3 books a month, rigorously applying that information too, so you could iron out what works and doesn't work for you in the real world. And then eventually you're still going to have to reach out and hire some coaches. But the good thing is if you educate yourself enough, you'll be able to spot the shitty from the good coaches and spend your money on the good coaches as well. So you got to, that's one path. And another path is you just have to hire a good coach right off the bat, and they can streamline the process for you very quickly. And those are really the only two solutions. And if you don't do either of those things, just expect it's not going to happen because of dumb luck, and you're not going to change. That's it. You either educate yourself thoroughly and spend a lot of money, and oftentimes not a lot of money, but a lot of time, and sometimes a lot of money too, because you're going to have to take different courses. You're going to have to hire different coaches along the way to help help you iron out the details or streamline the process in one form or another. And that's it. You just have to do that if you want to see changes, if you want to see meaningful, amazing changes. And if you don't,
Long-lasting changes.
yes, and that too. And if you don't do that, don't expect like for shit to miraculously fall into place, because that's not how the world works, you know? I don't know what your take is on that.
No, that's exactly what it is. That's what happened to me. I was telling you, I hired actually 2 trainers before, and they did the same thing. They didn't really teach me anything. They just guided me, like, for that day's exercise. I didn't even know what I was doing. And even after, all I did was go to the machines that they took me to and keep doing them. So of course you overdevelop certain muscles, and like you're not really understanding anything. They didn't give me any knowledge to perpetually kind of help myself until, you know, I trained with you. And you laid out my program. You kind of streamlined the whole thing and how, you know, what I was going to be doing for however long. And then you taught me every single motion in depth, like what to feel for, how to, you know, everything about what I was supposed to be doing. And then I went home and I watched videos on working out. I watched videos on every movement. My dad was a bodybuilder. I never paid attention to bodybuilding until I started training with you. Then I started talking to my dad about different things, and he would tell me, you know, certain strategies and movements that he used to use, his mind and muscle connection, things of that nature. It's exactly what you were saying. You know, you read, you educate yourself, and you start, you know, consulting other people. And yeah, it sticks, and you understand it, you envelop yourself in it, and it stays with you, and you're able to make those long-lasting changes. But you were saying it's either you're going to become the person that you need at the moment to help you, meaning you're going to become a trainer, or you're going to become a nutrition, you know, guru, or you're going to hire one. It's one of the two. You either need to become that person, or you need to hire that person. You're not going to devote all this time and energy and money, like learning it all on your own, and all this, you know, time is money, period. So if you have all the time in the world and you want to just invest all your time in learning it, then great. Like, that's not the normal person. The normal person has those 2 options, you know, hire or like try to do it yourself. But most people doing it yourself, it just leads you.
Yeah, because they're too overworked, and first
Yeah.
of all, you can't come up with a solution to the problem with the same belief system that led to that freaking problem.
Right. You need to interject something new that's going to kind of derail the negative parts of what you're doing and tell you, hey, this part of what you're doing from the outside looking in, that's the part that's, you know, jamming you up. You got to change this. And it's like, just like everything human, we compound our knowledge off of previous predecessors. You know, we our cells do it, like biology does it, bacteria does it, like it learns and it grows, compounds on, you know, the past. I compound what I know off of what you've already experienced, and that kind of just propels me into, you know, being able to keep this up. So
I also find the problem with American culture too is they're kind of like, you know, you're not doing your job unless you're dying for your job. And then health, usually they talk about how important health is, but it's all like chitter chatter.
Yeah.
When you look at their actions, verbally they're saying it's number one. They're acknowledging it, which is true, because what the hell are you going to accomplish in life when you have major depression or intolerable lower back pain? It kind of derails the quality of your life altogether, no matter whatever health issue you're having. If it's at a clinical level, it kind of really screws you in every aspect of your life. But like, I find there's just no self-respect. You know, 9 out of 10 Americans now are metabolically unhealthy. 9 out of 10 American adults. That's freaking crazy. And the study I'm referencing, which I referenced in another podcast, the standards were so low of what they considered metabolically healthy, and only 1 out of 10 American adults even matched those standards. And the sad part is if you actually interview these 9 out of 10 American adults and you ask them, like, how do you feel about your health? The bulk majority of them will say they feel completely fine. And I'm like, dude, are you, like, how much numbing and denial have you been in for how freaking long for you to think like the way you're living is normal and fine, you know?
Yeah, that's kind of scary to think about.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons, like, it is the big reason why COVID was so devastating in America, you know? I mean, look, 80% of the people that had symptoms that warranted needing to go to the hospital were people that are like very overweight on already 3 or 4 different medications, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it definitely, no absolutes. There are rare exceptions to this, but
Right,
you
right.
know, definitely you didn't find people like me and you lingering around the hospitals, you know, with clinical levels of issues from COVID, you know, COVID infection, et cetera, et cetera. And I also kind of find it like a little bit funny in the sense that, you know, like the average American would be like, well, um, I don't know that much about my car, so I'm going to take it to the mechanic when something goes wrong, you know, and that's totally normal. But when it
Mhm.
comes to their human, like mental and physical health, which is like magnitudes more complicated than a freaking car, oh, that I got figured out. That
Oh
I'm
yeah,
going to do keto or fasting or like some boot camp
because
class.
we come to a manual. That's
Yeah. And that I'm going to somehow figure out. And for some
on
reason,
my own
yeah,
because I
like,
saw it on an infomercial.
yeah, exactly. And it's
Yeah.
like, dude, the human health is such an enigma from so many vantage points. I mean, we don't even know how like human consciousness forms yet, or
Mhm.
its even purpose or real existence. And you don't even know. And that's like pretty much sets up like the foundation to our whole entire perception of reality. You don't even know it at that level. If for some reason this person's suffering from like 3 to 4 different health issues, has been overweight for 20 years, he's going to figure it out with just a simple keto solution,
Mhm.
and everything is going to fall into place all of a sudden out of nowhere. And that's
But
mind-boggling to me, you know?
that's gonna be tomorrow.
Yeah, no, no, definitely not today
They're
because
gonna figure it out tomorrow.
he's waiting for the ducks to get all in the perfect row, Jupiter to align with 7 different moons
Once
at
I
the
get this
perfect timing.
promotion,
Yeah.
once I get this promotion, I'm gonna do this, that, and that. No, no.
Oh man, it's so
Once I
sad.
get a girlfriend, once I do this, once I no.
Yeah, then it's all gonna somehow fall into place, and everything is gonna happen all in one day. You know,
Yeah,
just
no.
all in one day. It's all gonna happen.
That's actually a symptom of today's youth, I think, is instant gratification. Like, or not even just youth, but just like today's people, like instant gratification. I want my food delivered to me right now. I want instant results. If I, you know, if I want to find somebody to hang out with, I can jump online and just, you know, go on a dating app or whatever. Like, it's just nothing really has any value that's based on investing one's time and energy and planning. It's everything is just so quick turnaround. You know, the expectation is just for I want it now. I want everything now. I want my furniture now. That's mine, basically.
You're
I
like,
want it
listen, man, we
now.
sell luxury furniture, okay? That's probably made
I
on the
want it
spot. I can't
now.
deliver it in like 30 minutes.
I can't make your handmade chair right now. It's gonna take 8 months.
Oh
It's like
man.
set proper expectations.
Oh, I can tell Zai has been in the service industry for a while. You know, how do you feel about? I know you hire a lot of people here and there. How do you feel about like employee mindset these days? People coming in for employment compared to, let's say, like even 15 years ago. You know, how's it changed? How's it doing then?
Truthfully, I've had the same staff for quite a while. They're great staff. That's, you know, having the right mindset though, having the right values is important. And I think for anyone who's hiring someone, if you're if you're a huge corporation, you know, you establish a culture and you have to make sure that people hiring understand what the culture of the company is like. But when you're self-hiring for, you know, the company that you work for, and you've established that culture yourself, like you kind of either find people who are malleable in that culture, or you find people who already have the needed mindset for it. Um, for the most part, when we hired people who were not from our industry at all, and it was because they didn't have any of the previous, you know, behaviors that people in our industry have. We were able to teach them our way. So it was like having people who were willing to learn something completely new and just kind of jump off the edge with you was what we were looking for, and we ended up finding a lot of them. And it was just happenstance. We got lucky, to tell you the truth.
Cool.
Yeah, I love my stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. I was just curious in terms of like employee kind of mindset, if the work ethic has changed or something of that sort. But it sounds maybe like you kind of lucked out.
I lucked out. Yeah, I don't have any really new staff. Like I would hate to know what some of the workforce right now is like, because of the things that I hear about, like just not wanting to work, or people just being like, I should get this for nothing. I haven't really experienced that, thank goodness. Is that kind of what you meant?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, I haven't had to deal with that, thank God. I love my people.
Cool.
Especially if you're watching.
Yeah. Zai appreciates you, so he wants to make that very clear. And
I do.
We'll reinforce that here. But yeah, I'm trying to look through my notes here. Maybe we could touch on some other things. How is everything else with you, man?
Good. I went through midlife crisis recently. It was short-lived and kind of not that extreme.
You're like 2.5 hours done.
Yeah, kind of like that. It was like a really hard afternoon.
And then after a good cup of coffee,
organic, of course. And then I was like, I'm not that bad. I'm not doing that bad. So, no, just doing my thing, really. I think I've made decisions that have really set well with my values and who I am and who I want to be. So I haven't really deviated much. I'm just enjoying life and doing the same thing and taking on previous hobbies. I'm going to start fire dancing again, believe it or not.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Been snowboarding a lot. Just trying to stay active, really.
That's dangerous. I try to. I got to. Well, I'd say snowboarding way more than fire dancing, man. I feel like, man, I've heard so many people get injured from skiing or snowboarding. I'm like, man,
yeah.
I just go hiking now. That's.
I took up hiking,
and it's fairly linear paths too. Nothing.
You actually got me hiking
cliffhanger.
at one point. And I just recently picked it back up, and I feel like it's definitely like something that I can take into my old age, because snowboarding's not going to be one of them. Dude, I yard sailed it in Canada, and I actually got injured.
A yard sail?
Yard sail means like when you eat it and like all your stuff.
Okay, got it.
People on the lift
I'm like,
going by are like, hey, I'll take that board.
I'm like, why the hell would you? I'm like, why the hell would you go all the way to Canada just to do a yard sale? I'm like, what the hell?
That's when my shit comes off.
Got it. Okay.
But yeah, I actually got injured. My infraspinatus was pulled, so like getting back into the gym from that was really difficult. And I had 2 ribs out, and I kind of rotated my hip, like my spine. So I went through a bunch of physical therapy for that.
See? Perfect example. I told you, you got to stick to you got to stick to daily. I really feel daily walks and like gym workouts are like the safest thing you do, 35 plus. Not saying you can't get injured there. You can, don't get me wrong. It's a double-edged sword there too, but you have way more control over what happens during that training session than like going down Black Diamond with like 10 wolves chasing you in a black bear,
Just like a black bear.
They're all chasing you, like, oh shit, You're like,
that actually sounds fun though.
Well, like that saying goes, sometimes you have to find motivation, sometimes motivation finds you.
Yeah. Sometimes you're like, I don't want to go down this hill looks gnarly, and all of a sudden you've got an avalanche behind you.
An avalanche plus like 10 like crazy, like really hungry wolves, like these huge wolves from that one movie with that one guy, what's his name, the famous action figure, Neil Neeson, or
Liam Neeson.
Yeah, remember he did that movie with like the plane crashed and then he was stuck in the wilderness with these super psycho alpha wolves. You know, I'm like, dude, you definitely don't have to find
You're
motivation. You definitely don't have to find motivation to run in that situation. It's gonna find you, man. You're gonna be the best runner in the world, like overnight. You know.
Well, I mean, maybe that's what some people need. Like, just go throw yourself out into the wilderness.
Yeah, yeah. So, I especially
That sounds
like
like something you would do, actually.
well, I am actually taking an 8-month wild animal tracking course here. It's kind of like one of those you meet once a month at a different national park and they teach you how to find like different wild animals in the wild, obviously.
I would hope so.
Yeah, not in a
They
zoo.
stick you in a cage,
Yeah.
find the bear.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's right there, you know. Yeah. 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 So I am taking that, but one funny thing I always find like, oh, people are like, oh, you know, I can't lose weight because of my thyroid, my hormones, blah blah blah, all this bullshit. And I'm like, dude, oh, you can't lose weight, huh? Let me go drop you off in the forest without food for like 3 weeks, come back 4 weeks, come back 3 weeks later, and let's see how your weight loss journey has progressed, you know? You can't lose weight because you keep eating way too much for your activity level, your genetics, whatever you're trying to achieve. That's why you can't lose weight. It's not because of your thyroid or hormones. Stop looking for kind of scapegoats. It's you doing it to yourself, man. You doing it to yourself, and which is super powerful because it's not depressing to say it that way. It's actually super powerful and empowering because if you're doing it to yourself, you can stop
it.
doing it to yourself.
Right. I mean, there are
day.
certain cases where people just are incapable of moving, right? At
It
that
doesn't
point,
matter. Even in that case, I've
like,
had so many clients that lost so much weight without even working out.
because they weren't eating.
Especially my morbidly obese clients. I literally have them start maybe the first like 2 or 3 months just like doing 10-minute daily walks. And if you just focus on lifestyle and nutrition, dude, they lose like 8, 10, 12 pounds a week, not a week, a month, no problem, without even working out. Without even working out.
That's
okay.
Calorie control. And it's not even like, I wouldn't consider it calorie restriction to the point where you're starving yourself. It's just eating less than what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, come on. That's what I was saying. Like, I don't calorie count. I'm just cognizant of what I'm putting in my body versus how active I am. If I know I'm going to sit at my desk all day and I didn't go to the gym, somebody comes by and they're like, hey, do you want a donut? I'm like, no. No,
yeah.
thank you.
What are you working in a hospital now? That sounds like something you would hear in a hospital.
No.
Their food is such shit. I don't even know what the medical industry is fucking doing these days, man.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not in that. I'm not smart enough for that.
Not smart enough to be in that.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to a medical convention? Probably some of the sickest, most obese people you'll ever see in your life are there, you know?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
They're a mess, dude.
I've had some really crazy doctors, but I won't comment.
Yeah, but shoot. I wrote something here, but my freaking handwriting sucks so much. I can't even read here. Oh yeah, your comment regarding people starving during that just means they don't know what they're doing. My clients, if anything, eat way more food than they've ever eaten, and they actually end up losing weight. It's because there are like 3 variables to from a nutrition perspective. There are so many variables that go into this. From the nutrition perspective, you got to look at. First of all, you got to know what the person wants, you know, and then you got to make sure they're clear on what they want, which is really good assessments are required for that because a lot of people are just not clear on what they want. They might think they know what they want, but it's because of some delusional social programming or whatever, BS, and that kind of misguides their journey and makes it tough to make it self-sustaining. But first and foremost, to lose weight, at the end of the day, you got to be in a deficit. You got to be in a deficit. It doesn't have to be major, but it has to be there. The second thing is you got to know how to structure your macros. And that's so variable from person to person, their goals, their objectives. And the third variable is you got to know how to properly source those macros, you know, with the proper raw ingredients and health providing food. Because if you're eating shit food, there's no way you're going to gain health out of that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then obviously you have like gut health and all that stuff to consider, some genetics as well, in terms of like what works and doesn't work for your genetic type, stuff of that sort. But a lot of people are like, oh, you know, I need to be in a deficit, but I'm going to get 80% of my calories from fucking Cheerios.
Sugar.
Yeah. And no wonder you're hungry all day. You're getting food that's like has no nutritional value whatsoever. So your body's desperately trying to feed
Get something
itself by
right.
making you presume you're hungry all the time,
Hmm.
uh, and constantly going for food. It's like sometimes you see like obese people, and you get their blood work and they're deficient in a lot of nutrients. And I'm like, dude, how the fuck are you deficient in almost like
You're eating
250,
everything.
300 pounds? Like, I don't get that whatsoever. Well, I do get it, but you
Yeah, they're
understand.
pounding Mountain Dew and like, eating cheesecake.
Yeah, and the sad part is like the wanting of that food, it's all a byproduct from just a mismanaged central nervous system, which goes back to a disconnection of core values. There's a huge gap between who they are, presuming they even know who they are, and who they're portraying themselves to be in reality. And that gap creates such an insidious stress on the central nervous system. And it's the body's desperate way of managing that is through abusing food, wanting these high sugar foods, which help suppress excessive cortisol levels, et cetera, and manage all that. And somehow they think like all they need to do is keto. And that's going to resolve all these fucking issues, or fasting, or some other fucking bullshit, you
I
know?
almost tried keto.
Ah, well, thank God you almost tried it and didn't, because you're not going to be a guest on this show with that kind
No,
of
a friend of
behavior.
mine was like, people were raving about it. And I'm like, really? You get shredded like that? And they're like, yeah, you should try it. And I'm like, I don't know. That sounds kind of excessive. And so a friend of mine who's like studying to be a doctor right now, he's like, that's really bad for you, right? And I'm like, let me read about it. I read about it. I'm like, oh God, no, I'm not doing that. I
Yeah.
heard, you hear wonderful stories from people, and then you find out that like after they're done, they're probably like really fucked up. Like just no. I
Yeah. And
I
then,
I'd like to be consistent and not jump on some fad every once in a while to try to look good here and there. I'd rather just consistently be
which is what's made you a success. Be to
consistency.
be healthy.
Consistency.
To be healthy, you have to be healthy.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, holy shit, how could I make it more simple than that? You know, I find like a lot of people that are into all these like fad diets and stuff like that, they're desperately looking for an easy solution to a complicated problem. They don't want to do the work. They don't
Yes.
want to do the research,
They
and
want the photo for Instagram.
they're desperate,
That's it.
which doesn't even turn out that good. And which doesn't even turn out that good
Yeah.
anyways. And then their blood work is all like fucked, and
Mm-hmm.
their skin is bad, and there's so much that goes into it. But they're desperately trying to seek out an easy solution to a complicated problem, which is never going to give you a good result. It's not. And that's just how it is. You know, you either accept it and you play with the rules, or you're just going to be running in circles, chasing symptoms your entire life and wondering why one thing isn't working after another. And that's why, you know, there are no easy solutions. No
No.
easy in the sense that, and I hate to say it, like your lifestyle and my lifestyle is hard. I think it's hard living full of obesity, misery, and disease all day. Much harder than how we're living. That's
I would imagine it'd
100%.
be a lot more psychologically taxing because it comes along with all kinds of different insecurities or just like different crap that you end up dealing with health wise, mentally, physically, emotionally, all of it. Like I know that like I suffer from insecurities, even if I'm fit, I still suffer from insecurity like all the time. But I can only imagine that if I let my physical body kind of deteriorate and I wasn't physically keeping active and keeping fit and I wasn't keeping my mind physically fit, I would just fall apart. Like my life would be way less fun, like livable. Like it's true. So
Yeah. Because I get some people, they're like, oh, you know, this change is tough. I'm like, dude, it's not easy being obese, miserable, and full of disease, you know?
yeah,
And
the
sometimes,
worry, the worry, like I would be worried constantly that I'm dying, I'm
well, you
sick.
are. In that case, the person is. You got to remember these stats, and and people are so fucking delusional. And I'll explain why in a second. Uh, First of all, 1 out of every 2 Americans develops cancer within their lifetime now. 50%. And half of those 50% die from it. So check this out. Next time you guys go out for dinner, let's say it's you and 3 other people. So half of those people, 2 out of those group of 4, will get cancer in their lifetime. 1 of them will die from it, and 1 will die from a heart attack. So you just lost 2 friends from mostly preventable lifestyle and nutritional diseases, for example. Out of a table of 4, you're already down 50%. So that's like huge. And for some people, for some reason, they like play the lottery and they think they're going to win that. But 50% chance of developing cancer? Nah, keto's going to fix that, you know? I'm like, oh man, America has so lost its way in terms of like what mental and physical health even is. It's like, it's mega depressing. It's mega depressing, especially when you know what to look for. Because like literally everywhere you go out in America these days, like 9 out of 10 people you run into are full of like obesity, full of mental and physical pain. And from, I watched some interview with Robert Kawasaki, and he mentioned like, I think he said like 40 to 60 people literally just have about like $500 in their account at any one time, you know, and they're $500 away from bankruptcy, basically. That's like a flat tire, you know, or something of that sort. And I'm like, dude, clearly like something's not working, you know? And if you think it's tough to change, ask yourself like how tough it is to currently be in your current situation, you know? And I bet you for most people, it's much tougher than change. 100% guaranteed. So
I think it's the fear of the change and what it entails.
What could it possibly fucking entail? Life is a disaster now.
Well,
you know?
I think what it seems like is it's, to me, looking at it from the outside in, it looks like someone who's, you know, clinging to the edge of the deep end of the pool, not realizing that when they let go, they actually start going toward the shallower end. It's like they don't realize that it's going to get better if they let go of the current lifestyle. They just don't know how far it is going to be till they reach shore. You know, they're just kind of, I don't know what's entailed. I don't know how long this is going to take. I don't know how hard this is going to be. I don't know if I'm going to end up wanting that lifestyle later. And it's not until they kind of let go of what they're currently doing and start just devoting to it. Like, choosing yourself is never going to go wrong. Like,
exactly.
You can't really impart that on someone until they actually just do it themselves.
Yeah, and it's funny how you mentioned like, oh, you don't know how long you need to go, how far you need to go. There's, I remember when Greg Plitt was still around and I was subscribed to his website, and I think during one of his lives or something, like one guy asked, that guy's a legend, man. I love that guy's personality, man. He's definitely over the top, but he's like super entertaining to watch, man. And during one live, I think one guy asked, you know, how much like cardio do I need to do to lose like 20 or 30 pounds, or how much do I need to like work out or change this and this? And he was like reading the comment, and then he's like, you see him kind of taken back on it. And you know, his kind of like special forces military personality. He looks up at the camera. He's like, well, user 123 was whatever, blah, blah, blah. Why would you ask such a stupid fucking question? As much as it fucking takes to accomplish your goal. That's like instantly what reminded me of when you mentioned like, oh, I don't know how far I need to swim. Why would you ask such a stupid fucking question? Swim until you get to where you need to be, you know?
I remember
because
that,
here's where you are now
that.
fucking sucks. Yeah. Oh man, I love that guy. That guy was like on another level.
I remember you quoting him a few times while we were working.
How could I not, man? That guy was freaking epic, you know? He always said it like it is, and man, he kept it simple, stupid, you know? How it should be. Oh man, Jesus. Okay. Shoot, I wanted to say something else, but I kind of like spaced out again. So many like fun topics to cover here. I was just wondering. I'm just kind of struggling these days, with, oh, yes, regarding people being stuck. And like what we went to before, you know, we mentioned like, hey, you know, you could do it yourself and become your own mechanic, but it requires a lot of investment and time, which you could do, but you got to start reading these books, start taking these courses, you know, reaching out to these mentors, or you can kind of like hire a well-experienced coach. Just make sure you do your research and make sure that person has done it successfully themselves for many, many years, and that has helped a myriad of other people with various challenges do it themselves too. Degrees are okay here and there, but really you want to see their work. What did they actually do
Their experience.
successfully? That's where the gold is, you know? Do they have like a myriad of successful clients that have a myriad of different challenges? Are they able to successfully do it themselves year after year after year? And sometimes they get people like they would say like, oh, you know, with health challenges, they're like, oh, you know, I can't afford healthy food, or I can't afford good coaching and stuff of that sort. But hey, you know, look at it this way: the average American spends $8,000 to $16,000 a year on non-essential expenses. And that's way more than most coaching programs that will transform your life exponentially for the better. The 2,000 calorie USDA organic diet per year costs around $4,500. Meanwhile, the person that's spending $8,000 to $16,000 a year on non-essential expenses like fast food, alcohol, Netflix, their brand new iPhone, $8,000 for that shit that's adding literally no value to your life is okay, but $4,500 a year for organic food that's going to give you great skin complexion, reduce your chance of disease, toxic various biocide accumulation in your body, et cetera, help maintain a slim figure without even trying. Good luck eating whole food that's organic and actually trying to gain weight off of that. It's going to be a freaking challenge. All of a sudden to them, that's way too expensive. Sorry, man. I'm like, no, you're just fucking retarded. That's not too expensive.
The perspective is wrong.
Yeah. And that's why you're broke, full of obesity, misery, and disease, you know, because your thinking is all fucked.
It's just really choosing something else over yourself. I want to choose to go out and, you know, drink every weekend. You know, it's like $150 going to a bar. Like you can spend $100, $150 easy going out one night.
Yeah. Yep.
Like,
but that's okay, you know.
That's like
spending
one or two training sessions like a week, depending on where you're from, I guess.
Yeah. Or like for the average person, that's an entire week's worth of organic groceries almost.
Yeah. Like
right there.
Really priorities, I think. And I mean, trust me, the way that I live, it's not boring. I'm not bored. I don't not do anything. I have a lot of fun. I'm very active. I go out and I do normal things. I go to regular restaurants. I'm not the guy that goes to a restaurant and I'm like, oh, I can't eat anything, and I pull out my boiled chicken in a thing of foil. Like, that's not me. I go and I eat at normal places with my friends. I'm not that guy that derails the night because he's so like dialed into his diet. But I make conscious decisions and I eat properly. And I spend the money on the things that I find important. And that's my health. Yeah.
And I think it's easy for you to do that, Zai, because how the saying goes, it's like, you don't know who you are until you first know who you are not. And I feel you did all the A/B testing over your life to determine that, which I feel is missing in a lot of people. They never got out of their little box to really find out who they really are deep down inside. And the universe is always telling you, you know, like what vibes with your spirit and what doesn't. But a lot of people are just so numb to listening to that because they're so heavily brainwashed by like social programming of like, you need to do this, you need to be this type of person, you need to be wearing this, you need to be wearing that. And they wonder why, you know, they seem to be kind of quote unquote climbing the ladder of success, but every new level they see more empty and more miserable, you know, and then to compensate for that misery and that emptiness, they either drown themselves in more work, they drown themselves in more food, more alcohol, and in the extreme situation, more like hardcore drugs, all that stuff, you know? And you got to do that. You got to get out there and find out. You got to do shit you don't want to do, but listen to your body and your spirit when it's communicating with you like, hey, this isn't vibing with me. Okay, take a note in your fucking journal. That way, in your next path, you don't repeat those mistakes. And every time something goes wrong, like say a relationship doesn't work out, dude, thank that person. Say thank you. Because
thanks for the lessons, thanks for the experience, thanks for helping me figure out what I'm willing to deal with and what I'm not, what I'm willing to stand for, what I'm not, where my shortcomings are, and where my great parts of me are. Like, you do thank for that. Like, don't be bitter. Like,
and say, hey, thanks. You gave me a more clearer picture of what I need to focus on the next go around, you know? And the faster you do these things, the faster you'll get to where you want to be and what vibes with you. And also be conscious of, like, you know, every 10 years, your core priorities might change a little bit in certain aspects. So you got to be willing to flow with those changes too, and not be too like rigid and cold with your outlook on life and stuff of that sort. But um, you have to also listen when things aren't working. Your body's constantly communicating with you through pain, excessive anxiety, depression, excessive body fat, gut issues, erectile dysfunction, crazy fluctuating energy levels, or chronically low energy levels, anger issues. These are all signs and symptoms that there's a misalignment between who you are deep down inside and the real world, or possibly an inability to manage a biological system. From time to time, it is really that, like, the person just needs good education on, like, hey, you need to be sleeping this much, you need to be eating this much, you need to be managing your central nervous system this way. But the bulk majority of the times, it really is just this huge misalignment and gap between the person's core values, once again, who they are deep down inside and who they're trying to be in the real world. And the bigger this gap, man, the person's going to be in a world of mental and physical pain their whole entire life. And it's sad, and a lot of people aren't going to be they're not going to accept it, you know? They're not going to acknowledge it, and they wonder why they're so overweight all the time, why they have one gut issue symptom after another, why they have this health issue, now this health issue tomorrow, that this, why they can't hold down relationships. I mean, the list is fucking endless. Sure. And then they're like, oh, all I need is just keto and fasting. I'm like, oh, dude, come on.
The answer is
come
always
on.
Keto. I'm hearing keto as the answer to everything lately.
I mean, dude, when I hear that, I'm like, oh man, how lost can a person be right now? Okay, Jesus, like, where do you even start, like, dragging this person out of their complete, like, loss in this universe, dude?
When my friend Aaron hears this, he's gonna die.
Well, hopefully I'll save him, actually.
No, he was the one who told me not to do it.
Oh man. And when I say keto and fasting, I don't mean just to isolate those two. I mean just like these like quick solutions, like bogus solutions. And also keep note that there is a unique place and time for everything too. You know, there is a unique point of where fasting can benefit some people. There is a unique point where even keto can benefit some people. But you have to be so well versed in health and nutrition to know when to strategically apply those. That they're definitely never going to be applied like they're applied in mainstream today, where it's like blanket statements, like do it all year round. It applies to everyone. Everyone can do this, you know? No. That's not how it works. And that's like, the thing is, you have to understand a lot of people get their information from like social media because it's kind of like free. But you have to remember, like, in order, and they usually go to the
people talking.
And they usually go to the popular channels. But you have to remember, to be popular, your message has to be dumbed down tremendously. Because if it's too sophisticated, if it's too elaborate, like look at Stefan Walensky, you lose the audience. Exactly. So in order to be popular, these kind of social media people, they follow these like mega dumbed down, like they always put absolute statements where no absolutes ever exist with mental or physical health.
There's never a question. There's never a question. You can't really get off topic with it. It's just
exactly. And
A, B, C, D, E will render F.
Yeah, and their publicists are like, make sure to stay on path with your message because this is who you want your audience to identify you with, et cetera, et cetera. And unfortunately, people go to these people, and some of them are like doctors. And it's like literally silly that they're providing these absolute statements where they know deep down inside it does not exist that way.
Not quite simple.
Yeah, it's not like that. And it's borderline criminal that they do this, actually, especially with their credentials. They're totally misleading people. But my point is, like, these people go there and they take this at heart value because they're like, well, he has 1 million followers, plus he's a doctor. They must be saying
he's accredited.
Yeah, exactly. You know, they bought like these like 2,000 reviews on Amazon for their book, so it must be very popular, you know. And it's a total fucking scam. Now, with like anything, once again, there are no absolutes. There's a time and place for everything, but the way it's advertised is kind of like an absolute.
Like a
do this all the
Yeah.
You do this all the fucking time. And it's like fixing all your problems, including all the world's problems, including all the universe's problems. The universe is a big damn place, and it even fixes all those problems. You know?
Sounds good. I think I'll buy it.
Yeah, okay. Hey, here's my Amazon link. You know? And most of all the time, you guys, at the end of the spiel, there's like some supplement pitch or some kind of program pitch. Okay, so
And you've already entered your email address by then.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I see Vince jumped in. He had an amazing transformation too. Good to see you, Vince. I think he lost like close to like 200 pounds or something. So shit, I go on these rants and then I fucking forget what we're even talking about. How are you doing with going into your 40s now, Zai? How have you noticed some things you need to change with your workouts, be smarter about?
Recovery. Recovery takes a little longer. You know, before you have a real strenuous workout one day and then suddenly the next day it's kind of just already subsiding, you know, one Epsom salt bath and a day off the legs and you're just right back to it. And I find recovery is taking a little bit longer. I've actually thought about TRT, but I don't need it. My testosterone is pretty high. It's like 7 something. I just checked it. So it's it's not that. It's just, you know, your body kind of wears down a little bit. I've experienced minor changes. So for me, it's really just stretching more often and like using my massage gun more often because my muscles just a lot more sore and drinking a lot more water than I normally would have. That like my water consumption has to go up a lot. And I think that's about it. Other than, you know, the natural fear of entering into your 40s, which I hear is a stupid fear, but nonetheless it comes. But yeah, just that. It's just very minor.
I feel also like the requirement for the enhanced recovery time for you might also be because you've just gained a lot of muscle maturity since like we coached together like 10 years ago or so. And the more muscle you have, just genuinely the more recovery time you need, you know? And the more sleep you need, the better your nutrition needs to be, the more water you need as well, all that stuff. So I don't know how much of that is due to that. I'm sure there's a little bit of an age factor, but I think it's just like as you become bigger and more muscular, just naturally, you just need a lot more recovery time.
Yeah, I guess. But then like I've been what, I think when we stopped training, I was 180.
Okay.
Yeah, I got pretty big. Like I was pretty thick and dense.
But, because we did like a bulk phase like after, right?
Yeah, we did a
that's
shred
right.
phase. I went down to 153, I think.
Okay, got
And
it.
after that, we did a bulk phase, and then we did a slight cut phase after, and I ended up leaving at about 180. And I think the heaviest I was ever was 185. And right now I'm 170, but I've been maintaining 170 for about 4 years now. But my muscles are denser. Like especially my leg muscles, they're way denser than they used to be.
Got it.
My back, my shoulders, they're all a lot denser. So yeah, that's probably what it is they're just so much more mature that it takes so much longer for them to recover. And it's just, I think I'm noticing it and I'm impatient.
Carrying on so much mass, your knees are
like
buckling, your hips
shoulders.
are buckling. You know? The concrete
I want to do my shoulders again.
The concrete is like cracking wherever you walk. You know,
what's that?
The concrete's like cracking wherever you walk. It's like
yeah, that's what it is.
That'll be the end goal, man. When that happens, you know you reach end stage. You know,
that's when you know you're getting sued everywhere you go.
Yeah, you're like, I can't help it, man. Just carrying too much power in these steps. You know,
it's hard being a superhero.
Yeah, yeah. Tell me about it, man. Okay, well, Zai, are there any other topics you want to cover?
How are you?
I'm doing good, man. I did get freaking, after so many years of bragging about my superior lifestyle and how I'll never get sick, I finally got sick last week. So I might have to take a step back in terms of claiming I'm never going to get sick ever again. It was like a 3-day thing. It was like a 4-day thing. It wasn't like over the top terrible. But I was
Did you have a
visiting.
birthday or something?
No, I
Is
was
that
visiting my parents for a few
oh.
weeks, and I think I may have caught something on the airplane. Maybe, who knows? I don't care. It happened. So outside of
You're
that,
like, I've
man,
had that human experience now.
yeah, it was painful, you know.
Yeah. You're like,
but
here
I,
I thought it was a machine.
but outside of that, man, just kind of living a fairly like a similar lifestyle to everything you've described. I'm doing my workouts in the morning. I work out like 4 days. I have my routine right now. I work out like 4 or 5 days a week for about an hour, and then I spend about 20 minutes after stretching. And then I actually started implementing 20 minutes of meditation post workout as well, 5 days
Oh,
a week,
yeah.
like 4 to 5 days a week, basically post workout, which I found it helpful to manage my central nervous system a little bit better. And then every Sunday, I try to just spend the whole day outside, whether it's like tanning out in the backyard or some wilderness thing or whatever, just to kind of get connected with those elements a little bit. I am taking like a really cool 20-hour pistol course at the end of the month. Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah,
I was
yeah,
wondering,
yeah.
I was actually going to message you and see, I know you're into rifle competition before, see if you wanted to come down and take it too. I actually have an extra handgun you could even use.
Where is this? Oh, yeah.
It's
We
like
can
between,
talk about
between Austin and San Antonio.
it. Well, my brother
Yeah.
lives there, so maybe I will come out.
Okay, I'll send you the info after this call. So
Cool.
that'll be cool. That way I'm not taking it alone all the time. Yeah. But I've taken these instructors before for like a 40-hour carbine course, and they're very detail oriented, they're very hands-on, and it's definitely like really, really good instruction. They take you through all the steps and sequences and stuff of that sort. They definitely don't rush the process.
Nice. That sounds fun.
So that's really about it, honestly. And then that's about it. So
Well, same.
yeah, I'm like, let me try to think of something like crazy more elaborate, but I can't. But
There's nothing elaborate.
yeah, yeah. I keep it simple, man. I keep it simple and consistent, you know.
So
So
I'm happy being simple.
I'm also just working remotely for the last like 3.5, 4 years already, which I love doing. I know you're still in person work, but hey, I tell people, man, if you can go remote, you got to do it because it's like a really good new level of freedom, definitely for sure.
Yeah, I wish, but my job's hands-on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's okay. I'll do it for you, Zach.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. Okay.
All right.
All right, guys. Well, thanks, Zai, for coming in. It was good to see you and catch up
Yeah,
with you. Everyone that came out on the show, too, good to see you guys. And what's today? Friday. And have a good weekend, okay? Have a good weekend, everyone.
Thanks for tuning into the podcast. If you've ever had trouble losing weight, or you've lost weight, but still didn't have the ideal body or health you're aiming for, please feel free to reach out anytime and book an assessment. Eugene will work with you to cover your goals in detail, see what's holding you back, and go from there. In the meantime, feel free to check out the countless testimonials on Eugene's website in the link below. In the testimonial section, you'll notice everyone has various backgrounds, are of all different ages, and all have had different challenges in their life, but they all have one thing in common: they were all able to find their health and achieve their ideal body. You're also welcome to add yourself to the Facebook group in the link below. There you'll have access to the live videos that Eugene does weekly on Sundays, and other helpful content. Thank you again for tuning in.